back in the kitchen again, and we're going to make some homemade gluten-free bread. And this recipe I've gotten off of the internet, off of a girl I know on Facebook. So I made it. I've had struggled with some recipes in the past, and this one to me is the best. And you can make it into buns like dinner rolls and so forth, which I've already done. But today I'm going to make a loaf of bread. So the first thing we're going to do, I've separated all my ingredients, and I'll tell you what they are, and you can write them down. This, actually, this thing here, my blender is all set up to go. We've got, first we've got a 3/4 cup of brown rice. Sorry, I had to check to make sure we're recording. Okay, 3/4 cup of brown rice, and then also within that I put 1 teaspoon of salt, and then we have 3/4 cup of arrowroot starch. We'll put that in there. And then we have 3/4 cup of tapioca. Also along in this recipe, we have 1 tablespoon of xanthan gum. Okay, don't forget your xanthan gum. And then we have 3/4 cup of sorghum flour. All these flours you can get at the bulk barn. And then also into that collaboration, we're going to add, I have here mixing the active yeast, instant active yeast, and that has 4.5 teaspoons of rapid rise yeast into 1 1/4 cup warm water. Now I don't use a thermometer, I just kind of guess. And then you have your also your 3 tablespoons of olive oil and your 2 eggs. Also, when you incorporate all of that, you're going to add 1 tablespoon of flax meal. Okay, we're going to add that into that. And then we're going to start up our blender. And as that's mixing and getting all flavored together, all those flours, you're going to slowly add your wet ingredients. This really is a nice, light tasting bread. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and let me tell you, I've tried a lot of breads. So we're going to slowly add that, incorporate that into the mix. A little bit at a time, you don't want to overdo it. Make sure it's well blended. You can also add, which is optional, Italian seasoning, 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, if you want to make croutons after. Use your leftover bread for croutons. I have not done that, but I've also thought of maybe adding some cheddar cheese to this recipe to make cheddar cheese buns would be nice. Okay, we've got that all mixed up in there. I'm just going to grab myself a spatula. So I'll go over that recipe for you. That was 3/4 cup of sorghum flour, 3/4 cup of brown rice flour, 3/4 cup of arrowroot starch, 3/4 cup tapioca starch, 1 tablespoon of xanthan gum, 4.5 teaspoons of rapid yeast or quick rise yeast. Make sure that if you have to test it, make sure it works. And 1 1/4 cup of warm water, and then 2 eggs and 1 tablespoon of flax meal, okay, and 3 tablespoons of olive oil and 1 teaspoon of salt. So we'll get that all mixed together, and we're done. So if you were to make buns, what you would do is you would take an ice cream scoop, however big you want them. I made them a little bigger than what an ice cream scoop does, and I ended up forming them into little buns and then individually freezing them. Okay. So then we're going to get a bread pan, which I did not, wasn't prepared for that. Preheat your oven to 350, and also I use a little bit of Pam spray, and we're going to spray the pan just so your bread will come out in a little easier. Alrighty. And we're going to drop that in, you see. Now, a trick I learned is you get some cold water. You don't want any big cracks in your bread. So what I've learned to do over time is you get your spatula, you wet it, and you press into the pan. Okay, you're pressing into the pan so that your spatula doesn't stick. And you're trying to even it out so that when it does rise, you're not going to get any big cracks in it. You want a nice level type bread, loaf of bread. Makes it easier for cutting. Bring in your edges and then kind of just shape them, kind of curve them up and smooth out your. It's all about presentation too, right? This is actually my first loaf I've made with this recipe. Like I said, I've done the little buns, and they were quite nice because if you want, you know, a bun with your soup, sometimes people who are gluten-free don't get that option, you know, to just grab a slice of bread. Unless they have loaves already made up, but so that's what it's going to look like, okay? Like this. So we're going to rise this, let this rise. We're going to put it in a warm place for about 20 to 30 minutes. And then I'll come back after it's baked and I'll show you how good it tastes, okay?